Sinister secrets exposed. The spine-chilling family scandal of a haunted Mississippi lineage. The moment Sarah stepped onto the creaking wooden floors of her grandmother's crumbling house, she felt it an oppressive weight, a sinister pulse lurking beneath the familiar scent of aged cedar. It was supposed to be a fresh start for her and her 10-year-old daughter, Lily, but nothing felt welcoming here. The bones of the house seemed to groan from a dark history, whispering secrets that echoed through the peeling wallpaper, each crack in the wall telling a story of despair. The once vibrant home, now lifeless, wrapped itself around her like a sinister shroud, leaving her with an icy shiver that ran down her spine as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that danced ominously. Sarah knew the town hadn't embraced them with open arms. She overheard hushed conversations at the market, the townsfolk exchanging wary glances as if they could smell the cursed blood of the Hawthorne family wafting off her. "Stay away from that house," they warned, voices heavy with unease. Some doors should remain closed. What had she stepped into? Could her family's past be so dark it tainted her present? Lily wandered the dust-shrouded rooms, her curious eyes wide, a stark contrast to Sarah's growing dread. "Look, Mommy, I found a doll." The faded plastic figure grinned from a dusty shelf, a relic of an era long swallowed by silence. But even as her daughter's innocent excitement filled the air, Sarah felt shadows lurking, watching. The local sheriff's indifferent smile and careless remarks only heightened her anxiety. What could she expect from a man who dismissed her fears with a wave, chalking it up to the drama of single motherhood? Each night, the old house made its presence known, creaks turning into whispers, distant laughter echoing though there was no one left to laugh. "It's just your imagination," she told herself, yet the chill seeped deeper. When Lily began talking about her new friend, Marigold, every instinct told Sarah to panic. At first, she played along, hoping it was just an innocent figment. But soon, their conversations veered into the unknown, shifting from playful banter to unsettling exchanges. Marigold knew about Sarah, her fears, her worries. "She says you're scared, Mommy," Lily chirped one chilly evening, sending dread spiraling through Sarah's gut. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each passing day, Sarah's unease spiraled into a waking nightmare. Buried in the dusty tomes that detailed her family's history, she unearthed dark tales of betrayal and monstrous acts clawed back from obscurity. The weight of her ancestry hung heavily, shadowy tales igniting her imagination. The neighbor, with his too friendly demeanor, began to loom larger in her mind. He was everywhere, his gaze calculating, but never quite inviting. What was he really up to? Suddenly, the peculiar pulsing noise behind the wall intensified, pounding with a rhythm that mirrored her racing heart. A breath caught in her throat as Lily's voice rang through the stillness. "Marigold says you can't keep us safe, Mommy." Fear gripped Sarah as she gasped, realizing the dark reality of their home might not just be echoes of the past. Would she unravel the sinister web surrounding the cursed lineage before it consumed them both? A tremor coursed through her. The shadows were closing in, the walls breathing their secrets. What horrors awaited just beyond the door of their new life? A chill swept through the room as Sarah's heart thundered against her ribs. The walls seemed to pulse, each heartbeat merging with Lily's innocent words. "Marigold says," the name rattled in her mind like a ghostly refrain. "Lily," she snapped, her voice breaking through the haze of fear. "What do you mean," she says. "Who is Marigold?" The shadows in the room thickened, almost tangibly pressing against her, suffocating. "Marigold is my friend. She's really nice," Lily pouted, her brows knitted together in confusion. The little girl looked so small and fragile, a stark contrast to the looming dread surrounding them. Sarah forced a smile, but it felt more like a grimace. Sweetheart, we don't talk about friends we can't see. Okay? Let us focus on finding things to keep us busy. She could feel the panic rising in her throat. But Lily didn't relent. But Mommy, Marigold wants to come out and play with us. In that moment, everything felt wrong. The longing in Lily's eyes sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. Could it be possible that her daughter had invited something sinister into their lives? With a shaking breath, Sarah guided Lily toward the cramped kitchen, away from whispers and shadows that seemed to catch at her edges. She busied herself looking for snacks, anything to distract them from the oppressive atmosphere. But even in the mundane task, the air tasted stale and heavy, full of unspoken words and cold secrets. As darkness fell, the house began to groan again, with sounds rising and sinking like a ship at sea. A sudden crash echoed from the hallway, sending both mother and daughter leaping from their spots. Sarah's heart raced as she turned to Lily. Did you hear that? Stay close to me. With trembling hands, Sarah picked up a kitchen knife, feeling ridiculous and fierce at once. She crept cautiously toward the sound, each step a shudder of dread coursing through her. Shadows flickered around her, playing tricks against the dim light. There, at the end of the hallway, the ancient door to the basement stood ajar. A dull, fading light flickered within. A dread instinct pulled at her. Lily, wait here, she whispered. Even though every fiber of her being screamed for her to as she moved closer. The air grew colder, more rancid, as if the basement breathed out centuries of trapped secrets. She gripped the knife tighter, her knuckles turning white. Marigold says you need to let her in. Mommy. Lily's voice floated behind her, a sing-song, echoing chant that seemed to surge from the floor, wrapping around Sarah's ankles like serpents. She froze, nerves dancing under her skin. What did her daughter mean? Her mind raced as she glanced back at Lily, whose eyes sparkled with an unnatural light. They glowed unervingly in the dimness. Childlike but not innocent. In a flash, the light flickered off completely, plunging Sarah into darkness. She gasped, searching for the light switch, but panic seized her. Lily, Marigold says she's ready. You're not protecting us anymore. Her daughter's voice lilted, layering an echo that twisted into the darkness. Heart racing, Sarah felt for the wall blindly, her breath quick and shallow, panic swirling inside her. What did Marigold want? And who was knocking at the borders of their lives? A low, eerie laugh reverberated from deep within the basement. It chilled her blood as she finally found the switch. With a flick, the dim bulb flickered back on, but the basement door stood wide open, gaping blackness consuming whatever lay inside. Mommy, she says to come play. Lily stepped forward, entranced, reaching for the darkness with both hands. Fear gripped Sarah's throat, an ice-cold vice lingering with dreadful force. She couldn't lose her daughter to whatever horror lurked in the shadows. With a desperate lunge, she grabbed Lily's arm, pulling her back. No, she screamed as the last of the light flickered away. In the ensuing silence, a haunting whisper wrapped around them both. Let her go. And with that, Sarah understood. The darkness was only beginning to unveil its insatiable appetite. What had she invited into their lives, and what was threaded in the fabric of her family's secrets? The walls seemed to close in, the air thickening with dread as Sarah braced herself for the answers lurking beneath. But one thing was clear, the revelations were far from over. As a chilling breeze swept through, she knew something was stirring in the shadows, something dark and waiting. What else was Marigold hiding? Panic enveloped Sarah as the darkness pulsed around them, thick like viscous smoke. She strained to hear beyond the oppressive silence that swallowed any sound. The grip on Lily's arm felt both protective and desperate, an anchor in this chaotic world that now seemed bent on unraveling. Mommy, let me go. Lily whined, her voice strained, almost pleading. No, sweetheart. We need to stay together. We can't go near the basement. Sarah's heart raced. Her daughter's insistence unnerved her. If Marigold was indeed a figment of a child's imagination, why did it feel so real? Marigold just wants to play, Lily said, her tone shifting from irritation to a strange, dreamlike detachment. As if not fully within herself, The little girl turned, eyes gleaming with that unnatural light again. The hair on the back of Sarah's neck stood tall. "Lily, we have other fun things to do," she returned, forcing herself to sound calm. Inside, she screamed. But as she led Lily back down the hall, the walls whispered with voices, creeping sensations that clung to Sarah's skin. "Remember, Sarah," the walls seemed to say, "the truth is darker than you think." "Stop," she murmured, clenching her fist around the blade in her hand. It felt pathetic in the face of whatever malevolent presence lurked nearby, but it was all she had. Lily halted suddenly, looking back toward the basement door. The dark space beckoned like a siren. "She wants to show you." Her voice resonated eerily, each word emphasized in a sing-song harmony. "Show me what? What could possibly live down there?" Sarah felt her breath quicken. Lily stepped forward again, as though moved by strings invisible to the eye, sucking Sarah's resistance into the throes of her child's will. A heart-stopping moment passed before Sarah could regain control, pulling Lily back into her embrace. "Mommy, please." Lily's crying turned into a whimper, thick with frustration. It twisted inside Sarah's chest like a dagger. How could her daughter plead for something that felt so wrong? Drawing in a shaky breath, Sarah tried speaking with authority. "Enough. You don't even know what you're saying, Lily. We're leaving this place." But as she said it, reality splintered. The light flickered, and the air crackled with energy like electricity ready to burst. A powerful gust swept through the hallway, pushing Sarah backward momentarily. She stumbled against the wall, her heart thumping in her ears. Lily's eyes flashed a deep shadow, flickers of madness. Could she be possessed? "Mommy, do you want to know who Marigold is?" Before Sarah could reply, a sound rose from the basement. A low, echoing growl that chilled her bones. "Let her go," it echoed. Drenched in menace, time slowed. The room contracted around her. Terror took root in her gut, the overwhelming sensation of impending doom. "We're leaving. Now." She half yanked, half led Lily toward the front door. But the moment she turned her back, the growl shifted into laughter, childlike and malicious, layering their reality with umbrage. "You can't escape, she's already inside." "No!" Sarah screamed. The blade in her hand trembled as she faced the basement again. The sound of a door slamming against the wall shot through the air. A flicker of movement caught her eye, something darting inside the depths of the basement, too quick to define. "Stay by me," she urged, yanking Lily closer. But the little girl stood frozen, entranced, eyes locked on the black abyss. "Mommy," Lily whispered, now eerily calm, "Marigold wants you to know that you can't protect what you don't understand." She reached toward the shadow, fingers beckoning like flowers drawn to the sun. Sarah's pulse quickened, adrenaline spiking as she wrestled against the fear choking her. What did Marigold truly want? "Lily, listen to me," Sarah shouted, furious with desperation. "We need to leave." But as she turned to pull her away, the air thickened, walls growing closer, constricting as laughter echoed and shadows danced wildly upon the walls. Marigold was not a simple, childlike fantasy. She was an illusion, an echo of a darker truth waiting to consume them. When a loud knock rang out, rattling the very foundation of their home, Sarah's heart plummeted into despair. "Open the door," bellowed a voice, deep and unsettling from just beyond the house walls, one she didn't know, but felt stitched in marrow deep. Who was it? What did they know? With a pounding heart, she realized someone else was involved in all this, a force greater than the shadows themselves, and they were waiting. In that moment, Sarah understood. Everything could unravel into chaos, and it was only the beginning. The door cracked open slightly, revealing a silhouette shrouded in darkness. At that moment, Sarah couldn't tell if it was friend or foe, but the one certain detail remained: she had to protect Lily at all costs. What would happen when the figure stepped inside? The door creaked open, and a chill swept through the air. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she locked eyes with the figure. Expectation tangled with dread, twisting her insides like a vice. Shadows pulsated around the entrance, blending the stranger into the murky corners of their home. "Mommy," Lily's voice broke through the haze, light with a concern that felt all wrong. "No," Sarah snapped, jerking Lily closer. "Stay back." The figure stepped into the dim hallway, and Sarah couldn't stifle a gasp. Dressed in a tattered trench coat, the man's face was obscured by the dim light, but his eyes glimmered like scorched earth, dark, hollow, and hungry. "Let her go," he said in a voice that rolled like thunder, an authority so absolute it shook the very floor beneath them. "Who are you?" Sarah demanded, gripping Lily's arm tighter as her heart thundered against her ribcage. "What do you want? Isn't it obvious?" He tilted his head, his lips curling into a sly smile that sent a savage jolt of fear through her. "I'm here to collect what is mine." Lily squirmed in Sarah's hold, drifting like a leaf caught in a tempest. "Please, Mommy Marigold wants to play," she murmured, her eyes now vacant, clouds rolling across their once familiar blue. "Stay away from her," Sarah shouted, brandishing the blade. Its shimmering edge was a pitiful line of defense, but it was all she had left. The man chuckled, an unsettling sound echoing against the walls. "You think that can protect you? You've always been blind to what lurks in the shadows." Sweat dripped down Sarah's brow as the grip on her every emotion slipped. Panic rose like bile in her throat. "What do you know about Marigold? What's happening to Lily? Who is the master here?" he asked, voice smooth as oil. "You, or the darkness you deny?" The shadows writhed around him, hungry fingers seeking refuge in the corners of the hall. Sarah stepped backward, pulling Lily with her, but the walls seemed to pulse in warning, narrowing the spaces that once felt so spacious. "No, I won't let you take her." The laughter erupted into sharp, chilling echoes, a cacophony that surrounded them, growing louder. "You're too late, Sarah." At that moment, a flicker of light illuminated the hallway from the basement. The doorway cracked open wider, revealing swirling shadows. In that instant, the space transformed, growing heavier, thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. "Marigold isn't what you think," the man spoke softly, his voice caressing the air, soft yet laced with malice. "She is eager to show you the truth of her world. It's time you learned the real story of your lineage." Each word dripped like poison, and Sarah's mind raced. What lineage? What did this monster know that she didn't? As the basement light flickered again, flickering with unnatural life, shadows spilled out, coalescing into forms, distorted images, screaming faces that twisted her memories. "Mommy!" Lily gasped, backed against Sarah's legs, terror dancing in her eyes. "Help me! Listen to me!" Sarah cried out, her heart in shambles, fear tightening around her like a noose. "We need to leave." But the whispers grew louder, swirling around her head, overwhelming her senses. "Let her see," they cooed, and Sarah felt her body begin to move against her will. "No," she cried, but the words turned to webbing, trapping her in the embrace of shadows that reached for her, willing her to surrender. Suddenly, the laughter morphed into faint screams, the wails of those lost to Marigold's grip. The air thickened, pushing against her chest. "You're all mine," the man roared, his dark silhouette blending with the chaos of shadows that grasped fervently at her. In one final desperate burst, Sarah launched herself toward the black abyss of the basement, blade aimed, determined to fight back, to save her daughter from this dark fate. But as the shadows writhed and twisted around her, she faced the man's penetrating gaze. "Then you'll know the real price of protecting the ones you love." What awaited them down there? Were they consuming darkness that could drown the last vestiges of light in their hearts? The moment drew near, pounding like a drum in Sarah's mind, and she braced for the apprehensive plunge into the unknown. The truth would surface quickly, but would they emerge unscathed? The air turned viscous as Sarah lunged into the basement's yawning maw, shadows enveloping her limbs like tendrils of ice. The dark core of the house pulsated with malignant energy, thudding in time with her racing heart. The light behind her flickered and vanished, leaving only the man's predatory silhouette. Lily's frightened whimpers cut through the void. "Mommy, don't let him take me." Her voice trembled, a fragile lifeline in the darkness. "Hold on to me," Sarah cried, the blade shaking in her grip as if pulsing with its own fear. She felt the urgency to protect, to shield her daughter from the encroaching dread. The basement walls seemed to close in, the air thickening with despair, blocking her breath. "Let her go," Sarah shouted, each word breaking free from the tight band of panic constricting her throat. The man merely smiled, a grotesque display in the shadows, revealing teeth sharper than knives. "Ah, but it's not that simple, is it?" His voice slithered through the dark, chilling Sarah to the bone. "You've always known she carries the blood of Marigold. It makes her special, and special things belong to the shadows." The words hit like a hammer, surging truths crashing into each other. The weight of her lineage hung over her. Sarah had long buried any thought of the past, but here it was, rising like the stench of decaying leaves. "What do you want from us?" she demanded, but deep down, she feared she already knew. The man stepped forward, gliding through the darkness, his figure elongating like smoke. Leaning closer, he whispered secrets thick with disdain. "You were chosen to lead, to channel what lurks inside your veins. You deny it, but the darkness is part of you, just as it is part of her." "Part of us?" Sarah's voice cracked, and a wave of unease washed over her. No, she is not going to be like you." Lily huddled closer, fear radiating off her small frame. "Mommy, I don't want to be part of it. Please don't let him take me." The man laughed, an unsettling, hateful sound. "She already is, and soon she will embrace it, just as you did." His words dripped with twisted delight, each syllable a poison. A piercing light erupted from the depths of the basement, cutting through the shadow like a knife. Shapes began to emerge, familiar faces twisted in anguish. Sarah gasped. They were the trapped, the lost, the ones who had lingered too long in the dark. "Mom?" A soft voice called out, barely a whisper. "Leave her alone," Sarah screamed, stepping in front of Lily, a barrier made of desperation and love. The glow flickered, illuminating the grotesque figures around her. Pale hands stretched forward, mouths twisted in silent screams. "Your family's legacy is a curse," the man thundered, extending his arms wide, beckoning the darkness. "You were never meant to break free. You were always meant to serve." The shadows coiled tighter, suffocating her. Sarah felt Lily's small hand squeeze hers with a grip that sent shivers through her soul. "Stay with me. We'll figure this out." Panic clasped her heart, but she had to be strong. The pulsating light flickered in rhythm with her heartbeat, each flash revealing glimpses of a family history tainted with pain, with loss. Secrets clawed at the edges of her mind, and for a split second, she felt a whisper of recognition, a dark memory, buried deep. "No," she gasped, stumbling back. "I refuse this." But the pull was inescapable, as if the very air throbbed with a call, drawing her into the abyss. "Embrace your destiny," the man screeched, shadows swirling toward her, hands reaching for Lily. In that moment, Sarah felt herself teeter on the edge of surrender, wrapped in shadows, hovering over the precipice. There was no safety net. Would they be consumed by the darkness, or would the light reveal the truth buried beneath the weight of generations? "Mommy, help!" Lily cried out, and Sarah's heart shattered. The barrier of darkness loomed closer, and one final desperate thought screamed through Sarah's mind. What if the only way to save her daughter was to confront the darkness head-on? "Hold on tight," she shouted as she surged forward into the light, ready to uncover the dark secrets that stitched their fate together, determined to rip them apart. But would confronting the shadows unlock a path to freedom or seal their fates forever? Sarah lunged toward the blinding light, dragging Lily along, the shadows clawing at their heels like ravenous beasts. The warmth of the glow sparked a flicker of hope, slicing through the frigid air. But just as quickly, it dimmed, leaving them teetering on the brink of darkness once more. The man's laughter echoed, a sickly sweet refrain that wrapped around them like smog. "Futile! You can't escape your destiny." His voice resounded in the depths, mocking her, burrowing into her soul. But Sarah's grip tightened on Lily's hand. "Stay close. We're getting out." Her words rang with resolve, though her heart drummed an erratic symphony of fear. At that moment, she felt a surge through her veins, a pulse of power, bright and dangerous, a whisper of the darkness waiting to break free. "Mommy, I'm scared." Lily's voice quivered, breaking through the fog of fear, anchoring Sarah as if they were two boats tethered in a storm. "What if he takes me?" "No, he won't." Sarah breathed, battling the rising dread. She cast a glance over her shoulder, where the man loomed, a titan wrapped in malice. Lurking shadows draped around him like a dense fog, curling, biting at her resolve. Each flicker of light revealed more faces hungry, tormented, reaching out with desperate hands. Their whispers were a cacophony, a chilling serenade that chafed against her mind. "Join us," they pleaded, sounds like sirens amidst turbulent waters. "Embrace what you are." The call was almost seductive, laced with the promise of power, filled with something that felt strangely familiar. An electric spark of defiance snapped at the edges of her fear. "No, you want to deceive us," Sarah spat, pushing forward into the abyss, using her willpower to resist the pull of her name, her family name echoing through the shapes of anguish. Sarah. The name floated up, laden with weight. Behind her thoughts, riddles of a distant past clawed at her, thrumming with energy that felt like home. Suddenly, the air shifted. The ground trembled, an invisible force rattling through the floor as it pressed against her feet. The faces faded momentarily, banished by an overpowering darkness that swallowed everything whole. A deafening whisper slithered through the air. "You belong to us." "No," she howled, pulling Lily closer, her heart racing against the beat of something ancient and lurking, something she had been too afraid to confront. With a sudden burst of adrenaline, she swung the blade, its edge shimmering in the scant light. It connected with the shadow, the sound sharp and jarring, slicing through the eerie atmosphere. The frail flicker of hope ignited as tendrils hissed and recoiled. The darkness writhed back, revealing a path straight through the decay. "Follow me," she shouted, urgency seeping into her voice. They ran, the darkness streaking behind them, closing in like a stalking predator. But moments turned into an eternity, and fear clawed at Sarah's throat, stifling her breath. "What's behind us?" she gasped, glancing at her daughter, childlike terror mirrored in Lily's wide eyes. They stumbled into a small clearing, the shadows thinning. A rickety old door stood ajar, its worn frame inviting, yet foreboding. "Mommy, the door!" Lily pointed, her voice a mixture of hope and dread. "Is it safe?" "Safe or not, it's our only option." With that, Sarah pushed through the door, the musty smell enveloping them like a shroud, stifling but familiar. It creaked ominously behind them, and for a brief moment, they stood in a narrow hallway, littered with dust and cobwebs. But something stirred, an overwhelming sensation of being watched, of countless eyes hidden in the gloom. There was no going back now. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence, soft yet resonant. Sarah, the name echoed, a deep-rooted familiarity that sent chills racing down her spine. "Who's there?" she demanded, rising panic entwining with curiosity. Shadows danced, shaping into familiar forms, shapes that made her blood run cold. Would she uncover her family's damning secrets, or would the past come rushing back to haunt her? She steeled herself, heart pounding. There was no telling what lay ahead, but she had to confront it, whatever it was. As she stepped forward, the shadows closed in again, tightening around them. A whisper brushed against her ear like a ghost of memory. "You can't escape, you must choose." What choice waited at the end of the hallway, and would it grant her freedom or chains forever? The hallway stretched endlessly before them, shadows flickering in and out like desperately flickering flames. The air grew denser, each breath a labor, wrapping around Sarah's chest like a vice. She tightened her grip on Lily, who stood trembling beside her, eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. "Stay behind me," Sarah whispered, her voice barely piercing the suffocating silence. She took a step forward, every creak of the old floorboards echoing like a gunshot in the stillness. The walls felt like they were closing in, and an unsettling thought clawed at her mind. What if this place was a trap, a prison designed for them? Mommy, the tremor in Lily's voice struck like dread, amplifying the shadows creeping ever closer. I don't like it here. A flicker of emotion surged within Sarah: fear, protectiveness, lingering grief. The voice that had called to her just moments ago reverberated again, laced with urgency, echoing in the space as if pleading for a response. "Sarah, who are you?" she shouted, voice trembling yet defiant, trying to assert control over the encroaching dread. A silhouette materialized at the end of the hallway, sharper than the shadows around it. It shifted with unnatural fluidity, almost a reflection of her own movements. A woman, ethereal and haunting, her features disturbingly similar to Sarah's. "Remember," the ghostly figure breathed, the words drawn out like a cold breath against Sarah's neck. "Stay back," Sarah shouted, her heart pounding like a war drum. She slashed with the blade again, instinctively wielding it as a shield, yet it felt useless against the specter that seemed to exist in a plane beyond her comprehension. "Do you not wish to know?" The woman's voice wrapped around Sarah the way vines curl around an ancient tree, finding purchases in her flesh, her mind. "What happened? The secrets buried, the curse that hunts your family secrets." The word echoed like a bell, reverberating through Sarah's core. Her thoughts flickered to her childhood. Whispers from relatives warning about the darkness in the family line. Distant cousins, cloaked under the guise of normalcy, always wary, always guarded. You're part of this?" she gasped, disbelief suffusing her tone. "Yes," the ghost confirmed, her eyes dark wells of sorrow meeting Sarah's with an intensity that ignited a past Sarah had tried to forget. "You have the strength to break the cycle." But at a cost. Lily clutched at Sarah's leg, fear spilling out of her eyes. "Mommy, who is she? What's happening?" "Hush, sweetheart," Sarah snapped, her mind racing against time. The harshness of her tone shocked her. The woman's gaze lingered on Lily, sorrow mixed with something else, perhaps regret. "Choose wisely, Sarah," the apparition warned. "The past can poison the future or cleanse it. The shadows won't rest until they've claimed what they desire." Their whispers grew louder, a chorus of desperate knowledge, a twisted lullaby dragging Sarah into its depths, fighting against her will. She felt her pulse in her ears, the shadows beckoning her name, rising to caress her, but the grip of her daughter drew her back. "Step forward," echoed the voice, intertwining with the cacophony of shadowy calls. "What will you sacrifice?" Sarah's mind spun charge ahead into the unknown. Confront the ghosts of the past, or turn back and shield Lily from whatever terrible truth lay ahead. I can't. Panic gripped her throat. The essence of her family haunted her, memories twisted and laden with sorrow. She was on the edge of collapsing under their weight, yet she had to hold firm. "For Lily, make your choice." The woman's voice thundered now, filled with urgency. The hallway pulsed with energy, vibrating beneath their feet, shadows swirling in a frenzy as if the very fabric of reality was tearing apart. With a shout, Sarah took a step back, the blade slipping from her grasp and clattering to the floor, its hollow sound ringing like a death knell in the air. "Wait, let me think." But even as she spoke, darkness surged toward them, hungry and relentless, crashing like a wave against her. Defenses. A price for knowledge. A price for hope. As the shadows consumed her vision, Sarah felt her resolve wavering. She had to decide. Every second was precious, and every heartbeat pulled her further into the abyss of her family's sins. Would uncovering the truth bring salvation or doom? The shadows loomed threateningly, shadows of things best left buried. What was hidden in the dark recesses of her ancestry that could unleash all of this? The air thickened, heavy with the weight of unspoken secrets, and time seemed to warp around the choice inevitably ahead of them. Suddenly, a new voice joined the tumult, deep and resonant. "Too late, Sarah. You're already too far gone." And with those words, Sarah braced herself, trembling in the dark, as the chilling truth of her legacy began to reveal itself. The darkness writhed around Sarah like a living entity, hungry and insatiable. She could feel its breath on her skin, a cold kiss of dread that raised the hair on her arms. Lily's grip tightened on her leg, the little girl's whimper barely audible beneath the growing roar of chaos. "Mommy, please," that small voice, filled with innocence and fear, threatened to shatter Sarah's fragile resolve. "Stay close." Sarah snapped again, her voice rising above the din. She had never intended to sound so harsh, but it was the only way to keep panic at bay. The figure at the end of the hallway loomed, intensifying, her sorrowful eyes pinning Sarah to the spot like a butterfly on display. "Time is lost here, Sarah." The ghostly woman's words dripped with urgency, seeping into Sarah's mind. "You seek answers, but answers have a cost. What you treasure most can become your greatest sacrifice." What could she possibly sacrifice? Her heart raced as she glanced at Lily, who looked up at her with wide, pleading eyes. It struck like a spear through her chest. No, not Lily. Anything but her daughter. The moment tipped precariously at the edge of abyss. "Listen to me," the apparition urged, her mouth forming words, but they were corrupted by an ancient sorrow. "You must confront it. You cannot escape your lineage. It binds you, and it binds her. Leave her alone." Sarah shouted, her pulse quickening. She had to protect Lily, that was all that mattered. But as she looked into her daughter's terrified face, the shadows clawed closer, seeping through the cracks of despair in the walls around them. She could hear whispers now, a cacophony of the past, the screams of ancestors, voices lost to time, feeling their anguish, their desperation for redemption. "Sarah," they cried, anguishing echoes pulling at her mind. "You are the key. Your choice will determine if we remain trapped or are finally freed. Choose." The woman's voice shattered her thoughts, urgent like thunder in the black night. "Will you step forward into the truth?" The hallway pulsed with energy. The darkness shimmered, and shadows twisted, coiling around her ankles. She felt trapped, roots sinking into the ground, heavy and unwilling to move. "I can't," she stammered, panic welling up in her chest. "I can't do this." But even as she protested, images flooded her mind, her childhood, laughter echoing through the trees, the faces of her family twisted and tortured, their history a tapestry of pain she had tried desperately to unravel. A face surfaced in her memories, a distant grandmother speaking in hushed tones about family curses and lost souls. "The past will always haunt those who run from it. Your fear feeds them." The apparition screamed, her form flickering like a dying flame. "Face your legacy or watch helplessly as it consumes the one you love." Sarah's heart plummeted. Was it worth it? She weighed the potential release of the ghosts against her daughter's safety, the delicate balance of hope and terror. A pulse of energy coursed through her, vibrating within her bones, beckoning her forward. She felt herself teetering on the edge, every heartbeat luring her to take that leap. Mommy, Lily's voice was soft, trembling like a leaf caught in a storm. The swirling darkness, the voices, the weight of family secrets, they all clamored for her attention. "What will you sacrifice?" they taunted, their tones suffocatingly sweet. "Mommy, I'm scared." Lily's little hand gripped her tightly, grounding her amid the chaos, and just when it seemed all was lost, a flicker of light appeared at the base of the hallway, warm and inviting. Hope? Or perhaps a trap laid just for her. In a sudden rush, Sarah realized the only way out might be through. "I will confront you," she yelled, her voice gaining strength, the words echoing down the corridor. "Whatever it takes." The shadows recoiled, a moment's stillness washing over the chaotic frenzy, a heartbeat of silence before the storm. "Then step forward," the voice replied, equal parts disdain and exhilaration. "Welcome to the truth." As the shadows surged again, closing in like a tide, Sarah took a tentative step, the light flickering in a dance before her like a wayward star. The cost was no longer a question, she was ready to pay it. But what lay on the other side? Lily's cold hand slipped away, lost in the blackness. "Mommy!" she cried, the single word echoing in the darkness as it swallowed them whole. What awaited Sarah in the depths of her family's past? Would the truth finally set them free or doom them both forever? The moment Sarah stepped forward, the flickering light seemed to swell, illuminating the hallway with a spectral glow. It felt warm, yet ominous, as if the light itself was aware of the turmoil that swirled around her. Shadows shifted, drawing back momentarily, like a tide obeying an unseen force. "Lily!" she screamed, her voice tearing through the oppressive silence. Panic laced with desperation flooded her chest. The darkness had swallowed her daughter whole. The walls around her pulsated, each heartbeat mirroring her own dread. "Stay strong, Sarah," the apparition urged, her voice echoing, swirling within the confines of Sarah's mind. "Only by facing what you fear can you save yourself." With each clawing whisper of the shadows, the weight of her ancestors grew heavier. She could see them now, figures trapped in the expanse of the corridor, their faces twisted with sorrow and rage, urging her to turn back. Their eyes drilled into her, accusing and terrified at once. "Face her," a voice screeched from the back. "The curse will destroy her if you don't." Drained and trembling, Sarah felt the fabric of her reality tear apart. She was unmoored, drifting through strands of memory and terror. She channeled the hope that she could still pull Lily back from whatever darkness had claimed her. The corridor widened, revealing ghostly scenes playing out like a morbid slideshow. Her ancestors bent over in agony, shackled to their past mistakes. Voices merged, creating a chorus of despair layered over one another. Piercing scream cut through it, unmistakably familiar. "Mommy!" The sound wrapped around Sarah like a vice. "Lily!" She cried again, urgency propelling her deeper into the heart of the haunt. Each step brought forth a new horror. Shadows leaping out, gnashed teeth and hollow eyes yearning for release, each encounter laced with the tang of fear. "Look beyond the veil," the apparition's voice tore through the chaotic noise of the past. "Find the truth that binds you." Heart-thumping, Sarah's focus sharpened. Flickers of moments intertwined with her childhood surfaced. Laughter mingling with screams, her grandmother's gravelly warnings drowned in joyous family gatherings. A splintering realization jolted through Sarah. Her lineage had always danced on the knife's edge of madness. The light dimmed now as she pushed further through the corridor, shadows curling around her, closing in. "What do you want?" she shouted, anger sparking against the waves of fear. "What do you want from us? Your blood sings our pain," they screamed, a chilling echo. "You cannot escape." This was it. She was knee-deep in the haunted legacy of the Seven Pines. An ache ignited in her chest, a longing for connection mixed with grief. The shadows surged at the sound of her heart. In a fevered haze, she remembered that childhood tale. The one where the family had fallen into darkness, cursed to wander eternally. Was that their destiny? To be forever trapped in this void? "Sarah!" A lone voice broke through the cacophony. It was Lily. The pleading call echoed around her, pulling at the very core of her being. "Lily, where are you?" She began to tremble, edged with horror. "Mommy! Help!" The depth of that cry curled around her heart like a noose, suffocating her hope. Would she really have to face the legacy, the darkness, and somewhere within it the dark truth of her family's sins? In that moment of quiet desperation, Sarah felt a shift in the shadows. They surged closer to her, compressing time and space into a suffocating grip. "Claim what is yours," the ghostly woman shouted, her form wavering as if caught in a tempest. "Then you can free her." "I'll do it," Sarah screamed into the void. "I'll break this curse. I will face whatever awaits." The shadows screamed, their chorus of anguish rising feverishly as the light exploded behind her. But as the darkness shifted once again, the warmth of hope was snuffed out. A guttural roar reverberated through the corridor, drowning out everything else. Hers was a path not yet intended. Suddenly, silenced screams echoed around her, and the vision darkened. "They will never let you go. You have to make the ultimate choice." As Sarah battled the encroaching darkness, the corridor twisted into new shapes, the light piercing through the chaos, flickering on the edge of oblivion. What was her family's secret, and what cruel twist of fate awaited her now that she had defied the shadows? Would discovering the truth finally free them, or would it plunge them into despair forever? Each heartbeat thudded as Sarah surged deeper into the corridor, the weight of her ancestors pushing against her like a relentless tide. All around her, shadows whispered and darted, feeding on her fear. "I will not be consumed by your darkness," she declared, each word a desperate affirmation of her will. The apparition's eyes gleamed, a mixture of sorrow and proud resolve. "You must confront it, Sarah. Unravel the truth buried within. Only then can you save her." "Lily," Sarah cried again, her heart racing. It felt as if the very ground beneath her threatened to swallow her whole. She pressed onward, her thoughts a tempest of images, childhood laughter tainted by whispers of curses, warnings that had always been mere phantoms of her imagination. Suddenly, an echo rang out. Lily's voice soared like a fragile beacon through the din. "Mommy, I'm here." "Where?" Sarah screamed, recoiling at a phantom wraith that rushed past her, its anguished eyes reflecting her own turmoil. "Show me." The light pulsed, thrumming with energy, illuminating the darkened walls as images cascaded around her. Memories twisted, unraveling in ghostly ribbons. The family secrets spiraled into focus. Every dark chapter of her lineage, the pain her family swept under the rug, clawing its way back like a vengeful spirit. Panic threatened to suffocate her. What was the sacrifice that could free them? "I'll do anything. Just let me save her." "You will lose what is most dear to you, or lose yourself," the ghostly woman warned, her voice shaking the very foundation of the hallway. "Anything," Sarah panted. "Whatever it takes." The shadows surged forward, ripping through her defenses, snatching at her limbs as if they sought to engulf her existence. "No," she shouted, gripping the precious torch of warmth within her, the memory of Lily's laughter, the radiant spark of her daughter's light shining brightly against the relentless dark. "You will not take her." Suddenly, the corridor morphed, shifting the walls like sand beneath her feet, trapping her in a nightmare of her own family's making. Then came the rush of clarity. A vision pierced the shadows. Her grandmother's honest face staring solemnly, eyes holding centuries of anguish and lingering truth. "Break the cycle," the spirit urged, her translucent form flickering in and out amidst the chaos. Then silence filled the air, and for a moment, time seemed to halt. Sarah felt drawn into the depths of her own being. A hard decision loomed before her, an inevitable choice she had tried to avoid. "Mommy," Lily's voice cracked through the quiet, breaking her reverie. "Mommy, I'm scared. I can't find you." A cold sweat breaks over Sarah's brow. "I'm here, Lily. I'm coming." The world fractured, shadowy walls bending and reeling. In this moment filled with desperation and realization, Sarah felt the surge of shared blood and bond. "I will confront our darkness," she screamed, her essence intertwining with the shadows. "For my daughter, for every haunted soul bound to this sin." As she threw herself backward into the abyss, wind whipped around her, carrying the chilling laughter of generations past. The corridor darkened, shadows clamoring louder than ever. "You don't understand what you're unleashing," their screams crescendoed. "Then teach me," Sarah countered fiercely, feeling the pulse of her ancestry flow beneath her skin like a raw current, a feverish courage mixed with dread. "Show me what I've hidden." In a blinding flash, Sarah staggered to a forgotten room, the heart of the family's curse, where darkness writhed, hungry and insatiable. But so did a flicker of her grandmother's spirit, an ethereal protector standing vigilant against the chaos. "Face the truth," she implored. "Only then can time heal and free your daughter." The ground quaked beneath Sarah's feet as shadows writhed, swirling, reaching out with grasping fingers. "You will pay the price for your recklessness." But on the thrumming pulse of her heartbeat, Sarah felt the truth flow within her. A kaleidoscope of emotions rushed to the surface, a legacy of pain and strength intertwined. "No, I'm here to end this." With a fierce shout, Sarah launched herself into the fray, embracing the chaotic dance of light and shadow, determined to fight with everything she had. She could feel the clench of her heart aching for her daughter, and she closed her eyes, summoning each whispered legacy and each scream from beyond, channeling their energies into a single force. "Lily," she called, channeling every ounce of love and defiance. "I will bring you back. We will break this curse together." As Sarah shone with newfound power, A brilliant light engulfed the shadows, pushing them back and uprooting the twisted darkness binding them. The swathes of black retreated, and she felt the warmth of her daughter's spirit intertwining with the brave fight surging within her. "Mommy, I'm here," Lily's voice echoed, now alongside the shadows, filled with the wavering light that had once seemed so far away. With a beat of music and love, the chaotic storm of dark spirits coalesced, tangible forms appearing from the shadow spirits caught for too long, eyes pleading for release. And at the center, Lily, glowing amidst the remnants of despair. "Let her go," the spirit woman shouted, her voice a rallying cry echoing from beyond. "Join us, Sarah." The shadows writhed, whispering promises of power and despair, but her resolve was stronger. "No, I will write our own story." In that desperate moment, Sarah surged forward, sending out her familial legacy, a pulse of healing light, cleansing the darkness that enveloped her. In a wave of energy, colors erupted through the once gray walls. For every anguished scream, she forged a path of truth, shaking off the weight of generations as light consumed the shadows. Clarity cascaded upon the broken past, and Sarah felt the warmth of Lily's spirit merge with her own. "We can do this, Mommy." Together, they radiated energy, reaching back to grasp the fractured remnants of their past. So much sorrow. Yes, yet the bonds proved stronger than the darkness that sought to control them. In recovering the essence of their lineage, they unraveled the threads binding them to despair. "Your choice can set them free," the apparition whispered, its visage brightening. "Let love be the key." As the dark tempest faded, and the last whispers of pain were woven into the fabric of truth, Sarah felt a beautiful light envelop her and Lily. Together, they stepped into a radiant future, leaving the shadows behind, forever transformed and forever free. But even as shadows retreated, a lingering hum resonated, a promise of light in the dark, a watchful reminder of the unresolved ties to the past. Sarah turned, embracing Lily as they walked toward the future, hearts light with shared strength, ready to rewrite their story, unshackled from the darkness that had once threatened to consume them. This was the moment of healing, of redemption. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and hurry to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. This is the moment to show your support. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.